Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so I'm going to give everybody a chance to join. Do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hi. We've disabled the chat feature as we've discovered it can cause problems for some people using screen readers. So I can see that more people are starting to arrive now. Yeah, I'm really glad you could all make it. Great, and we're going to make a start now. So, hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode in series 2 of our Accessibility Insight sessions, where AbilityNet's Head of Digital Inclusion, Robin Christopherson, hosts a monthly online chat with individuals who are each working to improve digital accessibility and digital inclusion. This month, he's chatting to Heather Dowdy, Director of Product Accessibility at Netflix. I'm Emma Wheeler, Marketing Manager here at AbilityNet, and I'll be running you through today's session. So a few bits of housekeeping. We have live captions today provided by MyClearText. You can turn on the captions option using the CC option on the control panel. Additional captions are available at streamtext.net/player/event equals AbilityNet. Slides are available at slideshare.net/AbilityNet and on our website, abilitynet.org.uk/Netflix-insights. If you have any technical issues and you need to leave early, don't worry, you'll receive an email in a couple of days' time with a recording, transcript, and slides. Now, depending on how you join the webinar, you'll find a Q&A window. If you want to ask Heather or Robin a question, do drop those into the Q&A area for them to address. They will do so after today's session in a follow-up blog on our website, abilitynet.org.uk/Netflix-insights. Also, please feel free to leave any feedback in the post-webinar survey. So that's all from me now. Over to Robin and Heather.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Emma. So, Heather, welcome. Thank you very much indeed, particularly as it's the crack of dawn where you are in America. Is that right?
It's pretty early over here. Yeah, on the East Coast of the United States.
Wow. Thank you so much. Cool. So, first question, which I always put to all of my guests, is have you got a drink, beverage, hot or cold to help you get through this ordeal?
I do. I have my favorite mug here. It's brown and black animal print stripes on it. And typically I like a hot beverage. I love tea. I'm not British, but it's one of the things that I like to introduce about myself. And I'm normally drinking a green jasmine tea.
Wow. Yeah, tea's my favorite tipple as well. And this is one of my favorite cups. This is a Winnie the Pooh mug, I think. Um, I get Christopher Robin a lot when people see my name written down. So yeah, that's quite fitting, I think. Cool. Okay, first question. Now, this really surprised me that Netflix has been a digital first, streaming company since 2007. And I can distinctly remember when the DVDs were being shipped in the post. So that seems like less than sort of 15 years ago. But anyway, so yeah, really massive rise of the organization since going digital. Um, what role has the principle of digital inclusion played in the growth of your company? And, do you think had an important role?
Well, first of all, I'm surprised you still remember the red envelopes, with the DVDs. But digital inclusion has been huge for us. When you think about Netflix being a pioneer in streaming, it really, speaks volumes how much our content itself and our user interface has evolved over the years to the point that other folks have kind of borrowed that user interface for watching content. But what's been crucial is just as important as how we deliver, whether it's speed or aesthetics, accessibility has been a part of our mission there. And that's because of the mission to entertain the world, that global piece, and thinking about how to deliver our content to people and different places, regardless of their devices, regardless of the language they speak, really speaks to thinking about inclusion early and often and throughout our history as a company. We're known as an inclusive storyteller, and honestly, that's what drew me to Netflix personally. I remember it was a story about a famous TikToker, Charmaine, in the United States, who had gone viral for producing content on Black American Sign Language. And Netflix had featured her. And it really caught my eye in terms of the stories that Netflix was willing to tell and to share more broadly on and off their service. And so, you know, back in the summer of 2020, when there was this global racial reckoning, I really thought about where I could take my talents and all of me in terms of my experiences in the community that I'm connected to at the intersection of race, disability, and faith, and how to really push forward in a new way. And so I was really excited to join the Netflix team.
Brilliant. But they must have been making progress. I mean, they must have been prioritizing inclusion for quite some time because, I've been able to use the platform for, years and years as a blind user. So are you aware of how significantly digital inclusion was prioritized, how that progress was made within an organization? Because it's not a given that organizations are going to be able to sufficiently prioritize doing things in an inclusive way. And have you got any advice for people that, would want to make similar progress within their own organizations?
Well, I think it's really important to double down on what you excel at. And we've come to be known for the quality of our subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, as well as audio descriptions. And a lot of that really is a curve cut effect. When you think about the data that we share, that over 40% of our members watch Netflix shows and movies using subtitles, and over 80% of members turn on subtitles once a month, 40% turn them on all the time. That's more than just people with disabilities who watch our content with subtitles on. And so we understood that, hey, this is an area where we're delivering quality and we really are providing accessibility and usability to everyone. And so that's why recently in May, we were able to double down on that investment and announce how we were expanding the languages in which we provide subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing and audio description to include a lot more languages. So currently, you would be able to access a title in the country that it was produced in. That's the language that audio descriptions would be available in, for example. So if it was a title produced in Poland, then audio descriptions would automatically be available in Polish for our Netflix originals. But by expanding the languages to include French and Italian and German for that same title, we're recognizing that lots of folks come to Netflix to watch something that they really can't watch anywhere else. And that's a title from another country. And that's because of the whole idea and the whole inclusion that we truly believe that great stories can come from all over the world. And so why not provide more access to those stories in different languages? So first piece of advice is double down on what you excel in to deliver quality and make sure you're delivering it for all of your members, including members with disabilities. The second thing I would say is really it has been such a great culture in the sense that there's no fear of failure. And that's really important. I've been in tech for over 16 years. And that mindset, that curiosity, that learn it all mindset is truly how we get to some of the more innovative things. Now, I will caveat that, don't try this at home if it's something where you're blocking access and creating barriers to using your service. But outside of those types of things, it's really important for the teams to be able to come up with and experiment with what might be the new and latest thing. An example of that is recently with our subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing on Stranger Things, the more recent episodes and seasons. And it was a lot more descriptive, and we heard about it. Some folks in the deaf community, deaf and hard of hearing community, really liked it, and others really hated it. But that idea of, okay, we wanted to try something new, and we're able to pivot off of that. And then lastly, I think in terms of how to make progress in an organization along your accessibility journey, there are lots more resources than when I started, including the different accessibility, maturity, and evolution models that really allow you to measure how you're doing inside and outside the company. And like we tend to say in this industry, you can't change what you don't measure.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. So yeah, we've taken the step of creating a digital accessibility maturity model as well, which people can download and self-serve, can go through, and it really does shine a light on all of those areas which, if you haven't really prioritized accessibility for some time and looked at all the different areas, all of the cogs and gears that are required to make you produce end products without any nasty surprises or impossible retrofitting, which means that at go live, those products do end up going out of the door with serious flaws in. It's the only way to go forward. That's a really, really good point. So you've really been in an organization of significant maturity and not fearing failure, embracing kind of innovation in this area. That's such a brilliant message. And, we would point people at Netflix to say, look, they've got an accessible UI, accessible content, they have kind of stretch goals when it comes to doing things in an inclusive way. And certainly my wife is one of the people that hasn't got an impairment but turns on subtitles at least once a month because we're watching a particular program or whatever it is, movie, where they mumble a lot. Dialogue is not clear
Yeah,
anymore. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Brilliant. So we've been talking about globalizing content and making it accessible for the broadest groups. Netflix is a global organization as well. You've got employees all around the world. So how do you prioritize inclusion and diversity within such a diverse organization as well as for customers as we've been talking about?
Within the organization, I mean, we've Netflix has grown tremendously, especially over the last 3 years in terms of our workforce. And so we've got folks coming from lots of different places and also other companies. And these folks are coming in the door and asking, what are we doing about accessibility here at Netflix? And I think that's great. And I think that that's just a testament to the fact that more and more companies are on an accessibility journey. And so employees are used to asking that of their employer. And so I've been amazed each and every month with the folks that I get to work with and meet with at all levels and roles that are super passionate about what we're doing internally and externally, but also really skilled in their area. And they're willing to learn and take that back to their teams and lead in accessibility. So that's great. And then we also have an accessibility ERG made up of employees with disabilities as well as allies. And we've been having some really great conversations there, not only about holding Netflix accountable on our journey, but also about what's happening in regards to disability inclusion within our industry of technology and entertainment. And so I always find that really fascinating when you're able to look inside and also glean from others and other best practices externally.
So has Netflix historically been quite a flexible employer, and has the pandemic had a big impact, or were you working in a very flexible way prior to everything going very, very weird for a couple of years?
Well, like a lot of employers, there's been a shift with the pandemic, and I've certainly benefited from that. I joined Netflix as a remote only employee, and it's been great for me in terms of having that flexibility to work remotely. And that's flexibility that not only myself, but obviously we know the disability community has been requesting for years. So it is great to see companies like Netflix embrace that. There's definitely a hybrid model for folks that are located within a Netflix or headquarters, within the headquarters or Netflix location. But there's still a lot of flexibility. I think the flexibility was always there, but I think it's certainly increased with the pandemic and more folks like myself who are only remote. I'm also 3 hours ahead of many of the teams that I work with. And so it has benefited me in the sense that I get to make sure that I'm present with my family, especially my kids, seeing them off to school in the morning, getting in a workout when I can before I log on, which has been super crucial for my own mental health and my own journey. And then when I do travel, which I do so often for work, um, I feel like it's a lot more meaningful because you know that you're going in person to really continue to deepen the relationships that have been maintained online.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of remote working. So it's Hollywood, isn't it? The where the main
Yeah, yeah.
headquarters. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not sure if I'd like to work there. I like remote. That's good. I don't
You're
know. It
the
might be
first
fantastic.
to say that. Everybody else is like, sign me up. But hey, we
I've
all should
spoken in
have
Vegas
flexibility.
two, 3 times, and the first time was wow, amazing. The second time was this is a bit OTT, and the third time was like, no, we're done Las Vegas. Thank you very much. I could imagine that Hollywood would be a little bit like that. So you're talking about remote working. I mean, have you? Can you kind of put your finger on the, the key benefits and challenges maybe that Netflix has gone through, or has remote working always been kind of embedded in the organization and it's all running smoothly?
Well, I think that it certainly sparked some innovation in the sense of thinking through how we do what we do. So an example of that is this past summer we hosted several accessibility movie screenings for the Gray Band, and we had open subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing and open audio descriptions. And we worked on those events with the disability community and organizations. But, with COVID spiking some months, there were lots of schedule changes, but it was also really interesting in the different ways that we had to come up with in order to put on these events that happened in London, New York, and Los Angeles, because we were very intentional that the audience and the fans that with disabilities that were coming out to these events could also be immunocompromised. And so, how do you put on this really elegant and fantastic event where you're bringing folks together, but do so in a safe way? And so it was a bit stressful a couple of those months, but our events and communications team learned a lot. And quite honestly, it was such a vibe. It was so well worth it to have and to be with the disability community for those events. And I think that there was no better reason to bring folks together. I love connecting folks, but it was all for the sake of joy. And so figuring out how to deliver and delight folks, how to deliver joy and delight folks in new ways, continue to be I think, a benefit to how we're working within the pandemic. On a personal level, in terms of some of the challenges with the pandemic and new ways of working, is just the whole phrase transitioning to a new normal.
Hmm.
There's certainly change fatigue, whether that's whether you're working remotely, hybrid, or whatever, and the idea that what is normal because the pandemic has impacted all of us in so many different ways, whether that's been through healthcare, racial injustice, or educational inequities, especially in the marginalized communities that I'm connected to. The Black deaf community, and as well as youth with disabilities. And so I think we continue to grapple with how best to move forward, but in a way that honors that everyone is at different places. And so I hope that the grace that we found for each other and that we're all in this together during the pandemic, I would hope that some of that would remain.
Yeah, definitely big changes, but I think it's shown to organizations, to the senior teams within organizations that change can happen and it's not a disaster, and in fact it really can provide many opportunities as well. So talking about screening parties, if I was invited to a swanky, posh first viewing screening party as a blind person, I'd like to have the option of having the audio description. For people that don't know, this is kind of extra voiceover, extra narration, which tells this person's kissing that person, this person's just shot that person, that sort of thing, which means that you can follow the action, the visuals on screen if you can't see them at all. I would want to have those, in my ears, as opposed to everybody in the room being subjected to them, because it's not, going to be for everyone. Similarly, at home when I'm watching TV with my wife, I'd like to be able to maybe put my ears in and having the AD on an optional track, and that's kind of a technological request on my wish list. But when it comes to kind of furthering areas of inclusion for your customers, have you got any things on the radar along those lines that can kind of further improve? I guess watch parties and stuff like that could offer that capability. But yeah, what have you got on your to-do list going forward?
Well, it's funny because I hear that feedback and that feature suggestion quite a bit from blind and low vision members about wanting to have sort of a private channel for audio description. For the event, for the public event, it was great that it was open because there were so many different people with disabilities, but some of which who hadn't heard of audio description or experienced it before. And so I love the fact that we were all able to enjoy it together. But on a broader scale, I think that type of feature just makes me think of, community, and the fact that when we watch content, we normally watch it in a mixed ability community, whether that's with your family or friends. And so how do we really cater to that? I think it really helps, though, when we think about more people using these accessibility features. We had a Wall Street Journal article that kind of chronicled recording of audio description for Bridgerton and talked about how steamy it was.
Yeah,
And all
we get a
the
very, very watered down version of a lot of those scenes in AD. Sorry, carry on.
yeah, yes, and what a lot of people were surprised by was that there are lots more people that are starting to watch audio descriptions that don't have a vision disability, just because they love the juiciness of the quality of the audio description, or because that's how they process information. And so we continue to see like this curve cut effect. We continue to see that if more and more people are using it, it makes for a stronger case for the different ways in which we can deliver this and the different modalities and devices in which we can deliver this experience. But I think that there is a huge opportunity for us as a technology and entertainment company to really start to look at some of the other disabilities, particularly cognitive and mental health disabilities. Obviously, there's been a great focus on hearing and vision with subtitles and audio description, but I truly believe that there's more that we could learn that could help us with our user interface by really learning from other types of disabilities. And I also, what's top of mind for me in this role is also thinking about how we provide more opportunities for disabled talent in front of and behind the camera. We believe that stories can come from anywhere, and we're starting to see some pockets of stories with characters and storylines focused on disability. And I truly believe that there is an opportunity to um, do more there. And so wherever we can, we do showcase the collection of stories that we have. But more recently, we partnered with an organization called Respectability to create a children's TV disabled creators lab that would allow for an opportunity for folks to really get the training and enter the pipeline with their own stories. And so all of that matters as much as the features that we're producing on service is also the content.
Fantastic. I'm aware that we're running out of time, so a couple of brief ones, if possible. Future then, what does the future hold for any changes in how you deliver your services? Obviously, there's been huge developments over the last 15 years already. So yeah, any kind of future plans for how you deliver your services, and is there any implications in there for accessibility or digital inclusion?
Oh, I love talking about the future. Having previously worked in AI for accessibility, that was the goal, was to think about the future of accessibility. I think that the trends on personalization will continue to be huge. There is certainly a need for it when we talk about accessibility, when we talk about really using technology to meet people where they are instead of the other way around. I would love to really think about how we take the features that members use today and make sure that it's always on and seamless, regardless of the device that they choose, or as you mentioned earlier, the context in which they're watching in. How do we leverage technology to do that? And understanding that they are watching with their family, or that they typically like audio descriptions, and how do we surface more content to them that they like? So personalization.
Fantastic. Okay, now the last couple of questions. One is, so we have a different speaker each month, and last month's was Hector Mindo of a man and an organization that I know you know really well because you were at Microsoft and he was an ex-colleague of yours, director of accessibility there. How he's asking you a question, which I'd like you to respond to. He's saying, at Netflix, you have loads of organization that feed content, that supply content to your platform. To what extent are you able to sort of embrace accessibility in what they're doing and empower them to prioritize it as Netflix does, so that you're not having to kind of own the whole picture yourself?
What a great question from my former teammate at Microsoft, Hector. And it's a good question because of the nuance of really thinking about the ecosystem in which we're influencing. And it's important when we think about how to bring others along the journey with us at Netflix. One, it goes without saying, but we have to make sure that accessibility is part of the business case for winning more members, for winning in terms of the content that people choose to watch. Because without it being part of the business case, then it looks like accessibility is more of charity work. And so as part of winning, we continue to be the best that we can in our market. And that by default allows us to influence a lot of the suppliers and the talent that we work with, because everybody wants to be part of a winning team. And we're able to have more conversations, or at least they're open to more conversations on what our operational guidelines are for success. And for excellence. And so it's important to be really clear about what the non-negotiables are. And that's like the quality of our subtitles and the quality of our audio description, or the non-negotiables around training. And also then to be clear on where partners and suppliers have more creative freedom, which is around the content that they create. So being able to be really clear about those things has been really beneficial for us. And it goes without saying that it allows us to make sure that we deliver quality and that others follow. And that's how you get to like really influencing and entertaining the world together.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And it will help them all progress along that, journey that we're all on towards really mature, inclusive processes and within our organizations. Fantastic. So, final thing then is to pass on a question to next month's guest, which is Natalie Tucker. She's she is senior accessibility lead at Spotify, an organization that has become a very notable streaming organization, just like Netflix, but obviously in a slightly different field. But yes, what would you like to pass on, either a question or a comment, to Natalie next month?
Well, Natalie and I just share our heart for teaching others about accessibility. So I love that about Natalie. And my question would be, when building an accessibility program, how should companies approach training at scale, especially within innovative cultures like at Spotify, where teams could be working on something that there are no accessibility guidelines for outright? And so how do you really bring those folks along the journey, and how do you train them at scale?
Wow, brilliant question. Really, really good. We will put that to Natalie next month. Heather, thank you so much. Brilliant discussion. Really enjoyed it. I'll let you start your day. So
Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much again. And we'll pass back to Emma just to finish off. Thanks, Emma.
So thanks so much, Heather and Robin. There are lots of great questions, which we hope to answer online in the next few days. And you'll receive an email with a link to access them. Finally, just a bit more information that might be of interest to you. We also run online training sessions on digital accessibility. We have a special code to use on training courses for webinar attendees. Use the code AbilityNet10 to save 10% on all our courses. And you can book now at abilitynet.org.uk/training. Some upcoming courses are embedding accessibility at every stage of your project, accessibility testing in mobile apps, and accessibility for developers. We also have the TechShare Pro conference coming up in November, which is your chance to join Europe's largest gathering of accessibility and inclusion professionals and their allies. Please visit techsharepro.com, where you can find out some highlights and buy tickets. And you can also sign up to our e-newsletter on our website at abilitynet.org.uk/newsletter. And finally, don't forget about our next upcoming webinars, which you can access at abilitynet.org.uk/webinars. We've got 2 coming up. Join us on the 18th of October for our Don't Disable Me, How Organisational Culture and Equipment Enables Inclusion. And as Robin mentioned, on the 1st of November, we have our Accessibility Insight session with Natalie Tucker from Spotify. So thank you again, Heather and Robin, and for everyone who's joined us. Please do complete the feedback form you'll be directed to, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye, everyone.